Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Phillips. C News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, a Carenage man is dead following an accident along the Western Main Road near West Moorings. According to reports, at around 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 61-year-old Michael Bernard, also known as Kermit, suffered mortal injury when his car collided with another car at Westland Avenue traffic light intersection. Bernard was reportedly headed west on the roadway when the accident occurred. Witnesses claimed he attempted to break the traffic light when the accident occurred. Bernard was taken to the St. James Medical Facility where he died. Police are continuing their investigations into the incident. Police are investigating a murder in Parman. According to reports, at around 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday, Donald McCarno was at his Hilltop Drive Parman home when two men armed with guns approached his porch. The gunman opened fire on McCarno, who was standing in the living room area tending to his 7-year-old son. 35-year-old McCarno suffered fatal injuries as a result of the attack. He was pronounced dead at hospital. His son was not hurt. The men fled the scene. Police are still attempting to discern a motive for the attack. And police are also investigating a shooting incident in Malabar which has claimed the life of one man. According to reports, Tyreek Green was at Mahogany Drive when a vehicle pulled up alongside him shortly after 10 p.m. on Tuesday. The occupants of the vehicle opened fire upon him. He was fatally hit. 24-year-old Green was taken to the Arima Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Green was reportedly related to a senior police officer. To some other news now, the Communication Workers Union claims the Telecommunications Services of Trinidad and Tobago, TSTT, intends to franchise all 10 of its B-Mobile retail stores. Clyde Elder, Secretary General of the Communications Workers Union, CWU, made the accusation at a media conference on Tuesday morning. Mr. Elder said in a meeting with the Vice President of Retail Stores, they were informed that TSTT is closing all of its public stores. He said TSTT intends to franchise the stores to agents and dealers.
The Executive Vice President of Human Resource Administration, Ms. Carol David, that the company has in fact taken a decision to close down all its retail stores in Trinidad and Tobago and to have the services that they provide now contracted out to agents and dealers who have contracts with TSTT.
The CWU Secretary General said this means that the public no longer has the option of going to a TSTT outlet to transact business. On the retrenchment of staff, Mr. Elder said they were told that no permanent workers would be sent home, but if anyone refuses to be redeployed, they would be retrenched. He said it is clear that the deal will only benefit certain members of the community, including certain members of TSTT.
Did he have, does he have, or does he intend to have any direct or indirect relationship with any of the owners of these franchises, agents?
Mr. Elder estimates closing the stores will affect over 300 employees and 500 jobs. The CWU is calling on Finance Minister Colm Imbert and Public Utilities Minister Robert LeHunt to investigate the arrangements for the new structure. Well, in response, TSTT held a press conference of their own. Executive Vice President of Human Resources and Corporate Support Services, Carol David, said workers will not be retrenched. Mrs. David said the Communication Workers Union had been told about the planned changes.
For me, is the union will utter such statements to the press. On the 5th of October 2017, we met with the CWU and we advised the CWU that the Telecommunication Services of Trinidad and Tobago is not in the business of releasing any employee, any permanent employee.
TSTT also sent out a release confirming that it was in a digital transformation phase and as such operation at retail outlets, which include TSTT 18 Park Street, Port of Spain, B-Mobile West Mall, B-Mobile Chacon Street, Independence Square, Port of Spain, TSTT DSM Plaza, Chaguanas, TSTT St. James Street, San Fernando, B-Mobile Trinity Mall, TSTT Green and Queen Street, Arima, TSTT Peters Road, Point Fortin, TSTT Eastern Main Road, St. Augustine, will be redirected to franchises. TSTT explained that these outlets mainly dealt with bill payments.
2 hours to pay a bill, because that is what the retail stores really did. They really collected money through the payment of bills, and that's what we want to shift away from. In 2017, we cannot continue putting our customers in a space where they have to wait for 2 hours, 3 hours, lines snaking all over the place just to pay a bill.
This is the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. The Ministry of National Security has advised that Colonel Dave Williams has tendered his resignation as Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, ODPM, with immediate effect. The ministry says in the interim, Captain Neville Wint, Relief Officer, will function as the officer in charge of the ODPM. The ODPM received heavy criticism last week over their response to residents who suffered losses to the flood waters. On Sunday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said government was displeased with the response mechanism of the ODPM. He said a full review of the ODPM will be done immediately to ensure the ODPM has the personnel with the attitude and aptitude to respond to disasters of this kind. Last Friday, Colonel Williams at a press conference said the slow response was due to challenges in communication. And the Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Clarence Rambarat, has joined the voices chastising the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management for its response to the reports of heavy flooding over the last few days. Referencing the Prime Minister's scathing review of the ODPM during a visit to Miaro on Sunday, Mr. Rambarat said the company needs to be reminded of its mandate.
The office, because a lot of people love the office, the air condition and the carpeting and the away from the rain and so on, and I think people in the ODPM take that very literally. So the very first thing we may have to do is to change the name of the ODPM so that they understand that it is not an office job. And the second thing is that we should give them new clothing to wear. Clothing that is waterproof, and they understand that they need to deal with water in the wet season and fire in the dry season.
The body of a Barrackpore man was discovered on the bank of the Lengua River on Tuesday. It is believed that Kashib Ali drowned in the river as a result of heavy flooding in the area last week. Residents told reporters that Ali left his Kumuto Road home last Monday but was not seen thereafter. They said Ali, a mental outpatient, would regularly cross a bridge along Kunjal Road to get supplies, including medicine. The bridge had become submerged by floodwaters during last week's rainfall, prompting speculation that he was swept into the river. He was found 500 feet from the bridge. An autopsy was expected to be conducted on Tuesday, but initial reports suggested he had drowned as his body bore no marks of violence. To other news now, the opposition is once again challenging the government to shed light on the details surrounding the opening of a Sandals Resort in Tobago. During his maiden contribution at the Senate on Wednesday, Senator Saddam Hussein questioned what he thinks is the Prime Minister's overindulgence in the details surrounding the deal.
He is acting as the negotiator, the procurer, the real estate agent, and the investor in the Sandals deal. But it begs the question, why does the Prime Minister have so much interest in this project? The deal reeks of dark corners and inconsistencies.
Referencing hefty tax concessions granted to Sandals by other Caribbean countries such as Barbados and Grenada, Senator Hossain says the public also deserves to know what's being offered to the mega hotelier for them to set up operations here.
Is Sandals coming to our country to operate tax-free for 20, 25 or even 30 years? I therefore call upon this government to come clean on the deal that is being offered to Sandals. They must tell the nation the concessions and incentives that are being given to Sandals.
Citizens must abandon the habit of expecting the government to solve all of the country's problems. Independent Senator David Small has said. He made the comment during his contribution to the Senate this morning as the 2018 budget debate continues.
We live in a society where there's a permanent waiting game for the government to fix everything. I just don't get that. I think that I'm on record as saying that there are several so-called business people in this country. Their whole business model is to sit and wait to get a government contract.
Senator Small said there's a dire need for greater efficiency and productivity in the public sector and state office.
We have to get more value for money. We have to. Or not let's say more. We want fair value. Let me not say more. We want people who come to work to give 8 hours work and give the productivity that's required. We're not asking for anything more than that.
He also commended government for making an effort to share the burden of adjustment among all citizens. Coming up now, the weather this afternoon. Trinidad and Tobago will see cloudy periods with light to moderate showers in varying localities. Heavy showers or thunder showers are expected in some areas. Seas are expected to be normal with waves up to 2 meters in open waters and below 1 meter in sheltered areas. The opposition is calling on the government to implement and operationalize the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Amendment Act of 2016. Government procurement regulations cover all public works, services and supply contracts entered into by a public authority. The Amendment Act aims to reduce the term of office for the regulator and other members of the board appointed to govern the Office of Procurement Regulation. However, Finance Minister Com Imbert revealed during his October 2nd budget presentation, a regulator has not yet been appointed. Opposition Senator Saddam Hussein, in his contribution today, said the delay leaves a loophole for corruption to take place.
This act was designed for us to get value for money, and it would curtail the wanton wastage and corruption with the awards of contracts. Madam President, millions of dollars are lost to corruption and overpricing of contracts.
He said with the millions saved from eliminating the possibility of corruption, government can ease the tax burdens it has imposed on everyday citizens.
So that the education, agricultural and national security sectors would not have to be cut by millions of dollars. So that you would not have to cut gate. So that you would not have to tax almost everything in this country. So that you can settle wage negotiations with public servants and other public sector employees.
The 4th CARICOM Mexico Summit has begun in Belize. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, along with other members of the CARICOM delegation, arrived in Belize City at 6:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. TNT time on Tuesday for the one-day summit. The Prime Minister and his CARICOM colleagues traveled to Belize on an aircraft provided by the government of Mexico. The CARICOM heads of government met in caucus this morning and have since begun what will be a full day of meetings and discussions between the leaders of CARICOM and Mexico. Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto and the Prime Minister of Belize, Dean Barrow, will co-chair the one-day summit. The talks are expected to focus on matters of security, migration, climate change mitigation, and the prevention of natural disasters. The Prime Minister is scheduled to leave Belize on Thursday. The Environmental Management Authority, EMA, is investigating the disturbance of a subsea pipeline in the Point Lisas Bay area. The incident appeared to have occurred during ongoing approved dredging activities being carried out in preparation for the installation of a subsea natural gas pipeline to the Point Lisas Industrial Estate by an oil and gas operator in the Gulf of Paria. The EMA is currently meeting with the oil and gas operator and the owner of the disturbed pipeline to establish the facts around the incident. The EMA's investigation will determine if there were any adverse impacts to the surrounding environment and whether any environmental breaches have taken place. The EMA expresses its gratitude to those concerned members of the public who continue to provide information on any potential environmental emergencies. Reports can be made via their emergency telephone number 680-9588 or email via complaints@ema.co.tt. The Movement for Social Justice MSJ will be hosting internal elections for the National Executive on November 19th. In a release on Tuesday, the MSJ confirmed the election day. Nomination day has been set for November 10th at the MSJ office on 22 St. Joseph Road, San Fernando from 8 a.m. to 12 noon and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The election falls in line with the party's constitution, which states that elections for the executive will occur at the end of a 3-year term. Well, as part of their reward for success at the just concluded Pan Am Indoor Hockey Championships, the sport is to be better housed and taken care of going forward. That's the word from a proud sports minister who is keen to see the sport grow and develop to become world beaters. He is prepared to do his part.
I know we have the indoor court that is there now, but that is heavily used with other sports. There's a lot of land there. It's not something that is too expensive for us to look at in terms of having a hockey center that could offer the two. I'm happy to let you all know as well, we're finalizing at the racket center, which is part of that compound, and you're going to see something a little later where you're going to encompass all the facilities there in one name under one umbrella, just like in Couva. That this year we're going to finalize the dorms there, so you could stay there for camps, you could stay there for tournaments and so on, so you'll be a little more comfortable and cut the cost with regards to hotel and stuff. We have a state-of-the-art kitchen that we're going to put in there so you could be comfortable.
He was also keen to applaud hockey's efforts in developing the sport among women, something he was extremely proud of and encourages as he pledged his continued support for the sport.
And we want to continue working with you all to ensure that you'll improve, because I know last time both the female and the male went to the World Cup, both placed 8. Right? So we want to work with you all to ensure that we could improve that to come up to top 5 at least, and then continue later on. I mean, we want to aim for the sky. Hopefully we fall on a cloud. If we could win the tournament, that will even be better. But we have some time, tough times now. Resources are limited, so we have to ensure that we count all our pennies and ensure that we get the best bang for our buck.
The undisputed queen of local cycling is now the darling of the Caribbean and isn't ready to give up that mantle just yet. Tennille Campbell is anxious to grow and develop further in the sport and credits her training for her getting her thus far.
I mean, pretty hard is always training. I mean, there's always a lot of other competition that I would want to compete in and do well at, so everything just leads up to certain things happening, and it just so happened that before my off-season I would still manage to get back on the bike and complete this one last goal.
Campbell's form both on the track and the road has been simply phenomenal, so it wasn't a great surprise she did the double over in Martinique. But she has designs on even greater success and is keen to put in the hard yards even at the UCI Center in Switzerland if possible.
The level of racing in Europe is extremely high and at a different level compared to the Caribbean and this region. So of course getting out there, training and competing amongst the best in the world would help towards my 2020 dreams of medaling at the Olympic Games.
And that's it for sport. Well, that's the CNews report at noon. I'm Karen Kozier-Phillip. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the CNews website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.